name? I know him as Sikhonjwa, the guy who owned Kudubai and Bala and probably made my late teenage life very much of a blast, right? So today we have him on the couch here, and we're going to talk a little about a lot of marginalization and less of Gukurahundi, and we'll understand his position. So as we had already started talking, Sikhonjwa, you say it's a very big issue for us to just really need to talk about it. Why do you feel that way?
Like I said, you might think you've come up with a brilliant project to get people to start talking about it, but I think you need to talk to victims.
Okay.
First, the real victims and the real people who saw these atrocities happen. First and foremost, so that when you then approach people, you can then understand why is this scenario happening in the way that it's happening, and why do people react to the particular, I'll say your first episode, why they reacted to that, because you cannot be casual
about it.
You cannot be casual about it. About 20,000 people died, and it's not just deaths that they woke up dead, it's things that happened to them and things that were done to them, and most of them died very painful deaths. Only recently were some of the victims' children only got their birth certificates and then IDs recently. So impact it's quite huge
for us to just have a
just come and have a casual conversation and say, let's get people to talk about it, and because you must remember it is a painful time as well. So it's not something that people want to be talking about it openly. The facts are there. We all know what happened. I don't think there's any need
for us to go back and talk about it.
No. What needs to happen now is the people that are blamed for the atrocities, they now need to say something, because we all know what happened.
But the people who are blamed for the atrocities, or the people who feel the effects of being blamed for the atrocities, and they feel they don't have a direct impact. They've got a certain group of people who have painted them with the same brush, right? So we usually use these cards which inconsiderate about how we feel about these things, right? But is it them, or there's a specific group that we've been unable to access, and which we may still be unable to access for that conversation, right? How many times on the streets or in general conversations has a certain level of marginalization or disregard by a Shona person driven you back to the conversation of Gukurahundi, or find that deep-seated in that space, even it's about Gukurahundi? Do you find yourself in those spaces at times?
I think you need to see file tapes. I'm sure ZPC has got a lot of those file tapes where you can watch the former president or the current one. I was sitting in Sekirama and stuff, and comments that were coming from people like Innocent Gala. It's there. This was live television. You understand?
They refer to it as a moment of madness.
This was said at the funeral of Joshua Nkomo, because when Joshua Nkomo died, I think it was a national hero. Unfortunately, I was in England at the time, but I was watching. I watched the tape. That it was meant to be. I think it came out like a wee little apologiana. Let's just appease those little Ndebelés from the southern region. It's just saying it was a moment of madness. It shouldn't have happened.
Okay.
But it happened.
Yeah. That we all agree.
You need to understand. I moved to Harare when in 1983. Where I was in grade 2. You understand? Yeah. And I was in a school where maybe the Ndebele kids are like 4, but in your break you have to sit by yourselves. You understand?
You make your own real plan. I think I've also experienced that in
university. By the teacher, not because you're a dull kid for stupid things, but that hate was being driven by what they were seeing on TV, what the then president was
driving a certain agenda.
Yeah, what he was saying on television.
Okay, I want us to move from the Gukurahundi thing, because you feel like it's such a great story that can be told by some other people. Let's talk about just the effects, or even from kids my age or even your child, right? There's sometimes when not maybe you or people around you directly pass on this sort of hate on this group of people, and when you try and find out and people fall back on that, it's Gukurahundi. Is it only that, or there's now other things that stem or grew from that, or are just separate entities that have come out?
Marginalization was not caused by Gukurahundi.
You feel that's straight up?
No.
Yeah?
Marginalization, I feel, it was an agenda.
It was on its own. It had nothing to do with Gukurahundi. It's not an effect or an inference that after Gukurahundi then fell through the marginalization. It was a process. It was dominoes falling on each other.
No, you need to ask yourself why did Gukurahundi happen?
You know, there are so many stories around it, yeah?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I say...
You said you don't want to have that story.
I cannot tell you the Gukurahundi story.
Okay. So let's pick up marginalization according to Babongile.
I'm not the best person.
I get that.
But marginalization is easy for you to see. Very, very, very simple.
Easy to see. Can we tell where the root is, or can we tell the fruit because we can see the fruit that this is because of marginalization? But where did it start? What can you pick a position and say, as Babongile, I feel this point? Can you tell the root, or it's now just?
But I believe all these things are historical.
Okay.
Which it's it's all about how someone has said that the Vedas came here and took Shona women and took their cows, and then this was the revenge, and what. But I think within I think where it started for me from reading.
Okay.
I think it started when people of all tribes were together, when it was ANC and then ZAP.
Okay.
And then it is the splitting of ZAP where ZANU came, because ZANU came out of ZAP.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. From my understanding. That was then made to split on tribal lines.
Okay.
Because someone may have realized that if we split this thing along tribal lines, we've got more numbers by virtue of population.
Do you think the Rhodesians had something to play with it?
Yeah, the Rhodesians had deals with some. We know that it's factual. It's factual because the Rhodesians, who were predominantly British, they knew this was happening. They filmed it. There's even a BBC documentary called Mugabe Smith and the Union Jack, or something like that. They knew this was happening, but they sat there and looked. There are cables now that were exposed that people were communicating that something like this is happening. All right, and they were quiet about it.
Okay, I want to bring you to today's context, speaking to a millennial like me, or even your child, right? How, if you had it any other way for unity purposes, what would you have done to address marginalization in Matabele land as a startup? For us to have a situation where we don't feel that this tribe feels superior over the other, or this one is suddenly inferior than the other, what would you, as personally, what would you want? Even if it's
marginalization, you would delela. Basically, you would delela the next tribe by doing things to them, which shows that you don't regard putting abantu.
Have you experienced
wait.
Okay.
Let me say like that. So you then need to understand that when you come into people's territory, which is what I'll say, Matabele, the least that I would have taught people coming to Matabele is live well with the locals. You understand? Respect their culture and respect the way they do things. You understand? Now, I will tell you there were Shona people here in Bulawayo long before all this happened. They were living in harmony with everyone because they respected the local, what we do here locally. Yeah, like here you see, I'll be quite honest, in Bulawayo we've got two sets of Shona people. We've got Shona people that respect what we're doing, who want to learn the language, you know what I mean? Yeah. Who would come in here into a bar like this and respect to these guys, this is what they like, this is the music they like. Okay. Then we get the other Shona guys who are the problem people, who would walk into an establishment like this and say play Japraiser, and you say we don't play Japraiser here, this is what we do. Then they say you're tribalist. You understand?
They can call you tribalist solely because you don't play their type of music.
Yeah, you understand. I don't go to Harare bars and ask them to play Love Noma Jaiva or local artists.
Okay.
Yeah. And the funny thing, just to show you that this thing is real, they don't do that in Joburg or Botswana.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Where they are specific.
Yeah, they don't do that. And go there
the patrons of any bar, you know the type of music.
Play Shona music. They don't do that. But they only do that when they come here.
Because it's one country though.
No. This is what I'm talking about. Konoko Subenza, that's marginalization. Respect. What's wrong with coming here? We're one country, friend, but we're about different cultures and tribes.
Okay.
Yeah. We cannot use that excuse that we're one country. You understand? We can't do that. What do you think would happen to me if I went to Mali and demanded them to play? I would end up with a beating.
Likely.
I would end up with a beating because there's but you know, it's that one. You would delay. You would delay.
So Bubbles, listen, I'm gonna interject here, bro. Yeah. You and I first met when we were in London in the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah.
We're sort of struggling students together in the Docklands, I think it was in East London. So how come you and I didn't know you were, I was Shona, you and Debele? How come that didn't bother us? We made music together, we kicked it, we hung out, I mean.
Yeah, it wasn't a problem because we all respected our space and culture. I knew you, Shona. You knew I was in Debele. But it
didn't seem to, I mean, we never talked about it. Like, it seemed like we just kicked it. You're my nigga, I used to walk to your crib, you used to come to my crib, it seemed...
Well, in London, it didn't matter. I mean,
well, you guys were respecting the
yeah, no, you respect
the culture.
You see, one thing
I
liked about London is there would be parties. Then you had to check with your party man or your party show. You know, it was that distinct. I don't know about now, but I'm sure you remember.
No, I don't. I remember coming to your crib. I didn't think this was my. I didn't think this was my Debele nigga. I thought this was my.
No, but I'm just saying. Yeah, we must not put it like all Shona people are bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can't use the same brush.
We can't use the same brush. There's some work.
Okay.
You understand? Maybe it's a small number.
But can I take you back to something that you brought up that I feel is very profound for us? All right. We have established that marginalization feels like
exactly.
And that's what we feel like they're doing.
That's what it is.
Right? Yeah. How do we institutionally change that perception? Or do we start to have a social movement of we are inclusive, but when you get to specific territories, do like the Romans do. Enjoy what the Romans do, and then if you can't go back to your...
You see, I think the danger was sitting on is marginalization is almost a culture.
It's become a culture?
It's almost a culture. You understand? Anything to do with preservation of a particular tribe is then viewed as tribal. You understand?
Okay.
And I think that is what the government outlook has had. Anything to say let's have a developed grouping or what is always viewed with. You understand?
Well,
yeah.
It's now going against institutions that are there when it's socialization.
I think that the government must be preaching elements of if just respect.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. If all these things, if respect was there from 1980, I wouldn't be sitting where I'm sitting today. But because of elements of disrespect, this is why we're here. The lack of Ubuntu.
Okay.
Yeah, because in 1980, if the government had pushed Ubuntu, I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't even have this painful title to a documentary.
Yeah.
You understand? But it's respect to Ubuntu. Only that.
Okay, so how do we, which is my final question, and I even asked Carl that, how does then a millennial Shona person, a millennial Binga person, a millennial Debele person make it easy for the other person in their daily interactions? How do you make it easier for each other? And we don't feel like like we feel like, you know what, I understand you're in my space. If you do something wrong, I should correct you, and you don't find it as if it's I'm reprimanding you for things of...
Okay, can I just ask you a simple question?
Sure.
Yeah. Which is the majority language?
It's in Debele.
Yes. So why would you then put someone who doesn't understand the local language and culture and give them a talk post in this region? When there are people, when there are people, competence, we've got enough people who are learning it.
Are they competent?
Yeah, they're competent. Very, very competent. You can't tell me even a basic police officer.
Police officer.
But do they not speak Shona?
They speak Shona for the convenience. So we should have them speaking. I'm joking, but I suppose so. So would you encourage maybe for the future of our children, let's have bilingual languages taught, people to be able to be bi or trilingual, the same way we teach Shona and Ndebele and English in schools, in all schools, as a start? Would you say that? I don't want to throw an idea into your head.
Yeah, but naturally, I mean, naturally, if you're going to engage yourself with a particular people, you learn them, you learn about them and what they are like and adapt to them.
Okay.
You know, but like I'm saying, is something like that when you get to a roadblock, you know, and someone is speaking to you in Shona. But if you throw a dice, what are the chances that a random person you meet in Bulawayo is Ndebele?
Yeah.
You know? And then you can make an effort. You can't tell me there are guys who've been here for 6 years, they can't even utter one word in Ndebele. You would delay.
Okay.
Yeah, how are you doing your business here? You're forcing all of us.
No, I think that's unacceptable. I
are
agree.
we teaching them though? Are we teaching?
And then if you try and speak back in Ndebele, there are repercussions to that. Try speaking to a cop in Ndebele in a roadblock situation out there. Of course, roadblocks are not there now for now. But I'm just saying, yeah, even if it's a crime, you understand. But you can see elements even wherever you can see that someone is really not bothered. And those are respect levels, Ubuntu levels. And I think what the government or our social media campaigns must be based around respecting other tribes and what other tribes are doing.
What can Babongile then dedicate the rest of his life to do to bring out and cultivate that Ubuntu without having to say, yes, Joel? Because that also has got this approach that says you don't get to do that. It's a lack of a better word, it's a violent approach. That can also be met with a violent clapback. How do you then cultivate Ubuntu that doesn't have a violent approach to it?
Well, look, I don't know about old dogs and nutrients. Because I think the old school team, which is, I don't think we can really teach them Ubuntu now. But I think we can cultivate Ubuntu amongst the kids that are growing up. My son,
with his neighbor,
and Kuda's children.
Yeah.
You know, for example, they must get along like me and Kuda without having to look at surnames. But then they must also understand that my son will behave and make decisions in a particular way because he wouldn't develop a corner. That's how we do.
Okay.
And then he also
has
to understand. His kids also need to understand that. There will come a time when, you know, we have to all get along. I mean, now there's cross tribal weddings. You know, Ndebeles are getting married to Shona, so some cultures are getting diluted.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen respect levels in some weddings. I've seen some weddings going totally all because of respect.
Okay.
Respect levels. But it's amazing when people need help.
Yeah.
You understand? Mm-hmm. Then they become
very respectful.
Yeah, they bring a certain element of humility. That is only when
they need help.
Only when they need help. When you can see it in the political divide when it comes to elections. Yeah, we now need to be nice to those little Ndebeles out there.
So I think it's also about discouraging political parties and political figures from turning on and turning off as and when they please, which is what Carl spoke about, to say it's disheartening because the only time we get to talk about these things, we're close to elections. We turn on Gukurahundi, or we turn on marginalisation. Then when it's after elections, whether you win or lose, it's switched off again. We'll see you in 5 years. Do you think it's something that can be changed institutionally?
You see, Uchi, the case is in the case of Gukurahundi. I think it's quite a very simple case.
Okay.
You understand? People were wronged. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think Gukurahundi put it on one side and put marginalisation on the other side. Yeah. Gukurahundi was an event. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
It was an event.
A painful one.
A very painful event. Mm-hmm. And that the people who perpetrated that event, or the people who organized, not putting entertainment, mm-hmm. the people who put together that event now have to say something because it's there.
Okay.
Yeah. People.
Question, my brother. Yeah. How do you feel that some of those people who are the crux of that are now in charge?
still are in charge.
Well, now they're actually like properly in charge.
We can't really say that because they're all working for one person,
power.
but they're involved, right?
Yeah. I mean, the people with blood on their hands.
They must talk. Yeah, I think I'm not saying this is, but I'm thinking we know the main person who orchestrated all this. We know the foot soldiers who people now want answers from. You understand? But it happened. It's got to be addressed. You know, time is ticking. You know, it's, I think now almost going to more 30, 34
years.
Yeah, going, you understand? So something needs to be said. Whether it's an apology or truth and reconciliation thing like what they did with the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda.
Something must be done.
Something must be done. I mean, there was a tribunal there and everyone came out. I think even in post-apartheid, people who had crimes during apartheid came out. And I think we also need that. Whether we as a nation were forgiving them, but we need stories told and explanations given. Why did that happen? And this, that. What are we going to do then about these victims?
I have one question, and I'm sorry, I think it might open a can of worms, but I asked a question randomly to one of our followers on Facebook, and they say, well, they have to come and talk to somebody. Directly, right? And they say, recognize this individual or who's leading intolerance. As an individual, do you recognize that space?
Of course.
You do?
Our ancestors left us from the chain of command. You know, from if you have an issue, you go to a headman. From the headman, you send to them.
Okay.
Yeah. And eventually the king.
So
you understand? So you cannot come here and then sit and, like, which is what I was telling you guys, and understand what happened first. Once you guys go and understand and talk to victims, and then you talk to our leaders, because we still have leaders as a people.
Yeah.
In Duna, we recognize them. Also, we hitmen, we recognize them. And there are also some social leaders as well. Okay. We recognize them. You know, that is how
we start the conversation.
That is how we start.
So there's a Ndebele monarch who's alive right now, a descendant of the original lineage.
Well, it's a bit controversial as to who exactly.
But it wouldn't be difficult.
The Kumalas have also confused us.
Okay.
You know, but for me, we've got Induna and Induna.
Those people are
yes, but that is us. And you see, you have to understand then that also is preservation of the Ndebele culture.
Okay.
Which is what I'm really about. I want my sons, my grandchildren to be able to still do things the way we do culture, because that is us. You understand? That is us as a people. So that is what I would like. That can only come from respect. The mere fact that the retaliation the government has been giving people when they try to do things like that, they try to install the king at the trade fair, they set right police there. But Nomaliso Ncube got a bit of a hiding when they tried to go and commemorate the massacres in Banako and stuff. So you can obviously see that it's an element of Ubudimina, because when we then try and do things for ourselves, because we're not getting any help from people, then it's met with a heavy hand. You understand? But in a country where Ubuntu and we respect each other, it's like that. I mean, we opened a new radio station here in Bulawayo, right? We've got Bulawayo artists who have not had their music put out there, you know, by other radio stations, because predominantly the majority of the population is Shona. So naturally, all the national radio stations are wired at playing Shona music. Well, there's the second capital, right? And all this material, if you look at land space, we're almost half the country.
Okay.
In this region, no one was bothered, really. Take one artist at a time. Take Jace, when Jace comes out, put Sandra. When Sandra comes out, take Kelvin. Put Kelvin inside, one at a time. You can see the trend if you look at it. Yeah. You can see the trend. And then now we open a radio station. People of this region, we are predominantly Ndebele, we speak Ndebele English, and predominantly other local languages around us is Sotho and Kalama. Okay. And we play almost 100% music that resonates with the people of this region. And then you're going to point at us and say, why are you not playing this, that, when you've got 7 other radio stations that you can tune into to listen to
Japraise.
Yeah, and then the one station, the one with the 40-kilometer radius.
It's not even that wide into the
region. You know what I'm saying? Look at a plastic. But all we're saying is no. Here's something that people are proud of. You know, something that they can say, this is our own. This is a whole Highlander story. Yeah. Why we cut Highlanders Chelsea. Yeah. That is all historic. It's Ndebele, it's us. We got to understand that. So when we then see something that's not good on the field of play, why people react to that? I'm not saying it's good.
We're not endorsing violence.
Yeah, we're not endorsing violence, but you need to understand that it's not just, you understand, because we've been left with very few things that we can hold on to as a people of this region. You know, we're holding on to the cleanest city in the country, the best run, yeah. We're holding on to Highlanders. That's us. We're holding on to the statue. We're even holding on to statues for identity. Anything happens, we go there to the statue. You understand?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, now there's the radio station as well.
Job well done.
Yeah, and of course number 6. That would be me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I would suggest the tribunal sits like what I mentioned about what happened in Rwanda. Reparations have to be made, whether in cash or in kind, but some form of reparations have to be made. They have a register of everything that happened, documented. Let's see how
a list of names of all the victims.
Yes, exactly. How can
testimonies.
How can they be compensated? Also hear from our leaders. You understand? Because they represent us. They must say to whoever what we want as a form of repayment or whatever. They should put up a position to say, Zwanilla, this is what you did.
Okay.
But then this is how we want this.
Because we want to move on.
Yes, because maybe there's some traditional rituals that also need to happen and things like that. But in Duna's traditional leaders, they know exactly what needs to be done. They must be engaged, and I'll put it in our new president's terms, they will be carrying the voice of the people.
Okay.
And the voice of the people is the voice of God.
And I just get that the ICC will be waiting and looking for the one time when they're like, okay, so they just admitted that it happened, we can take them to court for it.
I think the one thing we've learned in the last month is the world listens to the general populace, and if the general populace decides this is how we want to handle this, I don't think anyone outside the country has any right to say you guys are not doing this correctly or what. We must be able as a
sovereign nation,
to do things ourselves. But like I'm saying, it is the people more so who were more affected than myself, and the traditional leaders who they've got a solution. I know that if they are asked what must be done about this scenario, I'm sure on any given day they can present it to say no, because they've been sitting on this for so many years.
Yeah.
And our traditional, the answer is in our leaders.
Okay. So we will
that's why it was a pain when they tried to go and commemorate these things.
But during the GNU, wasn't there something that was done there? I mean, there was a whole ministry dedicated to truth, reconciliation and healing or something like that. The MDCM guys.
Yeah, did they not avoid the question?
The question was avoided and then
it fades.
Okay.
It fades. And I thought this is now the reason now why this...
Why are we doing this again?
Yes.
Nice.
So that the more noise that is made, there will be a form of engagement. Because I think what is needed now is a form of engagement. Yeah, it's a form of engagement. Because the next thing, the way things are, someone will call for a match.
Yeah.
Yeah. The country is sitting there, someone will call for a match, and people will turn out in their numbers, and it will be a huge PR disaster on all levels.
Okay.
But what I think needs to be done is engagement.
Which we've shown we don't fail at it. If people
engagement. No, we don't. But I think I want to bring engage the necessary people. You know what I mean? Like I like the point that was said to me. The real people who were really affected by this was to me, and the Madalas were more quiet. But you see young people and what trying to make noise about this as if they're involved. And that's actually even
secondary.
Yeah, trying to get popularity out of Uti about this whole story. It's not fun.
No, it's not
at all. As you can see, I'm being cautious even in my engagement with you guys.
Yeah.
I initially refused to do the interview, but I said, okay, let me say my piece. But like I said, and I'll stress again, as I meant, that you will have a better understanding of doing such a documentary when you find out all the facts and you've talked to all the relevant people. And the next people that you ask about this scenario, you will understand now the angles where people are coming from. I personally, for one, like I said, I don't think I culturally am qualified to be making this about it. I look forward to, because it can look very simple, but I sometimes couldn't get advice. Yeah, I want to do this, and then you're told you can only do this, or you understand, you got to.
You are given bounds.
Yes, because we respect each other. And slow Ubuntu, and we've got, like I told you, how we follow procedures. It's very simple. Even if I make a girl pregnant, I don't go and tell my parents that I'm pregnant. That's not what we're taught. I go and tell my aunt. My aunt then goes and tells my dad. Because my dad will go mad. I'll then be given a signal that it's okay. Exactly. Yeah. Even that's why people want to get married. The tombo. You send your entourage there first to deal with the immediate reactions. You don't just walk in there and say, I want to marry your daughter. Yeah, because things can happen to you. Understand? But you send an emissary, the emissaries deal with the things first, you understand? Then after that, then
okay.
Yeah, that's the way we operate. That is Ubuntu. And that's what makes us
always following protocol. Must be.
It's very important to
keep up.
Very important. So they must engage because of that.
Okay. Yeah. Can we convince them to start engaging? Panslapa?
Well, this is what they should do.
Yeah, which is the intention really. But it can, you always fear that it can be misinterpreted that the title is into Pezu when all you want is to get people to go again and sit at the table, which is pretty much the main agenda of Sleeping with the Enemy. Say, can we get you guys back to talking? We may not be in the room when you talk, but when you come out, can the peace that you make in there spill over everyone?
That's good. Which is what. Yeah. But note, whilst you're filming the documentary, that it's not a casual story.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not a casual story. There's no smiling about it. There is no making jokes about it. It's a serious story, and it's so serious that even I say I'm not qualified to talk. But I really would like to see engagement. So we close this chapter, at least in terms of engagement and talking about it, and we move on. Even though I know for hundreds of years to come, we won't forget.
No, we can't forget. We must not. Egan. We must not. Right. We've had a very good chat with Babongile, and I feel his approach gives a different perspective to how things are like and addresses most of what your concerns were on the comments that we've outlined before that you gave us. And I think we're very grateful to have this conversation. Can we keep this conversation going? And it's been episode 2 of Sleeping with the Enemy. Thank you guys. Catch you on episode 3.